Good evening, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. It is... What is today? It is Saturday, the 26th. Charles Schultz's 100th birthday. Or it would have been if, he didn't die. But there's a bunch of... If you go to the museum for the Schultz Museum, there's a museum devoted to Charles Schultz, the creator of Peanuts. There's a page they have up for the tribute that's got a bunch of, because it's his birthday. A bunch of other cartoonists did Peanuts homages this week in the Sunday paper. So if you go in, you can see all the homages from the other comics like Zitz and Baby Blues and Garfield. And one of my favorites, I sound like an elderly person talking about what comics I like in the newspaper, but what's the other one? Heathcliff had a pretty good one. But if you go on their website, you can check it out. Some of them are pretty fun. And the Mutz one's cute. I always appreciate the Mutz one. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which is the sequel to 2019's surprise hit, Knives Out, which is directed and written by Rian Johnson, who did The Last Jedi. And the third act of this movie does look a lot like The Last Jedi, and I was like, I appreciate this. So I'm going to do a non-spoiler one, and then, I'll play the spoiler warning for those who have seen the movie and want to hear about, because that's what one of the things I'm finding is, when I listen to a movie review on a podcast, I'm not listening for, to hear if something is good or bad. Because I've already formed my opinion. I'm listening to hear other people talk about it and maybe catch things that I didn't catch. Don't worry, I've only seen this movie once, so there are definitely things that I didn't catch that other people may have. But, we'll talk about that. The cast is great. I really love the cast. I think casting, what's his name? Dave Bautista as like a Andrew Tate type is a great decision. I really love that choice. The idea of putting what's it called? All of these people from very different political alignments on this island, and having them all be friends. It's kind of like when you look at Knives Out. It's the story of what's it called? Like the haves versus the have-nots, and how quickly, that's what I think all of Knives Out is going to end up being, even when they do a third and going on from there. It's all going to be about, class warfare at the end of the day. And because of that, I think hopefully we don't get into a third one where it's the same kind of thing. But it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But it works because it's just different enough from the second one here that you can kind of get around it. And I think Daniel Craig is great. I love Daniel Craig in these. His accent's hilarious, and he does such a great job of playing this style detective. I would say this is the best whodunit or mystery movie of the year. Because I would say I like this better. It's definitely better than Death on the Nile. Death on the Nile was a shit show. But I would also say it's better than See How They Run. But See How They Run is also pretty solid. And this is just a lot better. And the comedic moments land, and everything about it lands kind of well. And I don't think there's anything here. It's not heavy-handed in its messaging, but it works pretty well. So if you have not yet seen Knives Out, or Glass Onion and Knives Out story, check it out. I think it's playing through this weekend, and it's not Saturday, so if you don't see it this weekend, it's not playing in a theater near you. That's, not the best news, but it will be playing in theaters, not in theaters, it'll be on Netflix next month. So if you missed it, it'll be on Netflix, because they have the big Netflix logo before the movie. But we're going to move into spoiler territory now. And what we're going to discuss is, one of the things that I really liked about this movie And while I was watching, I kind of went through phases of how much I liked the way they handled it. The one bone I would really pick is the reveal about the twin sister, which is you have, you basically have Amazon as a company, and then you have, the founder in the form of, what's it called? The company's called Alpha. What's his name? Ed Norton plays the founder. He co-founded it with Janelle Monáe, and they are, and there's a falling out. Janelle Monáe gets sued, and now every year he holds this big, thing. So you have Catherine Hahn, who plays the governor of Connecticut. You have one of the scientists who works for him, who he's close friends with. You have, who else? You have an influencer. I don't know the actress's name, but I'm going to feel stupid if it's someone I know. And her assistant, played by Jessica Henwick, of Iron Fist and The Matrix Revolutions, or The Matrix Resurrections, I'm sorry. And then you have the fourth person being the Andrew Tate type character, played by Dave Bautista. They all come to this island to do a murder mystery weekend, and Benoit Blanc is also invited to the house, and they go through this whole thing, and you have this murder mystery, and they have to solve who the murderer is. And as the night goes on, someone ends up dead, and they have to figure it out. Now, one of the things I really like with the Glass Onion is the name of the house that they're on the island they're at. But the thing that I really like about it is the idea that the glass onion being a metaphor for the movie's narrative. Because that's the thing, is that they go this big roundabout way to get to what you probably assume from the beginning as soon as the first death happens, which is the death of, the death of Dave Bautista. As soon as that happens, the only death, but as soon as that happens, your assumption is, oh, okay, someone was trying to kill him. And then it was, like, as you go through, you're like, nothing about this is particularly deep, nothing about this is particularly unique, nothing about this is this character doesn't have much to him, he's very shallow. And as it happens, you're like, no, that's too simple. The thing you assume is the simplest explanation is it's too simple. But the idea of the glass onion being this thing that's very intricate on the outside, and it looks very intricate, but on the inside you can see right through to the center, is a great way, and it worked very well for the story. Then there is that worked, and then there's I talked about the class warfare aspect, where it's like, again, you have all these people from very differing walks of life. You have, she's the governor of Connecticut. She talks about it in the grassroots liberals, and she's going to lose everyone if this goes through, this energy plan goes through. And then you have the scientist who doesn't have a political alignment, but he's very well off. And again, it's this idea where everyone's fighting with each other over the death in the first one, until it turns out that he leaves all the money to Ana de Armas, who is his nurse. And then all of a sudden, all of the politics go aside, and they're all against her. And the same thing kind of happens here, except here it's so great because, it turns out that the person who's been doing everything, killing the twin sister and doing everything, I'm not explaining it well, but it's a 2-hour movie that I'm trying to condense down in the podcast, and all of that is fine with everyone, of all of these varying walks of life, and all of these varying political views, but they all have money, and they're all tethered to the guy who has a lot of money, and they're all kind of just okay with everything that happens, until you get to the end. And you get to the end where the Mona Lisa is destroyed, because that's a plot point in this movie over the course of it. And then when you get to that point, where, at the end of the movie where the Mona Lisa is destroyed and it's destroyed in the fire, and that's the point where everyone turns on him, because no one wants to be tethered to that because of the optics of it. And it's this really great moment where they're willing to stay with him until something happens. And the thing is, too, is I think that this whole thing with the art does have some additional resonance now with these protests that are happening all over the world, or all over Europe, really. Or I think something happened in New York too, where people are going and throwing paint and gluing themselves next to these iconic paintings, and that's when people are taking notice, because it's like, look, it's a massive climate protest, but it's not disrupting traffic, it's not doing anything else, and it's getting headline news around the world. And when was the last time that happened? And it's one of those things where you see that, and you see this, you see the that kind of resonate here a little bit in a weird way, and it works very well. I think that the movie probably could have had some moments where, and I think that the one big bone I have to pick with the movie is that when we get to the death, like the quote unquote death, because it's a fake out, of Janelle Monáe, when that happens, and then we flash back to all of his dealings with Janelle Monáe over the course of the movie. That is the point where I'm like, where I'm like, that it's good, and I like that reveal. But then once they catch you back up to real time, quote unquote real time, wherever time the movie's taking place, and where he's in the room and he's doing his thing, and then she comes downstairs after being shot and being left for dead. Like, I would have done it where we do all of the reveal about their past. I would have done that. Which one forget? I would have done that in. I would have done that after she comes down with the letter, because once she comes down with the letter, then you can do the flashback and have it all kind of pieced together. But I think doing it right before that makes it feel like you're trying to retroactively fit in a lot of stuff, when letting that scene play out a little bit more and having the reveal that she's still alive works better as a reveal, and then it moves on from there, rather than having the reveal, because that's the thing too, is that because we go immediately from her getting shot and them going in to because we go from there to the flashbacks, it doesn't have that much significance to be flashing back immediately. Because by the time we're flashing back immediately, we're like, all right, well, and then we get back to it, it's like, well, we know she's alive now. But you could use that as a moment, like, she's alive, and then treat it like, to use a magic term, the Prestige, the Return. But I think that's it's a solid movie, but it's just that one thing I would have changed that probably would have alleviated some of the issues, some of the things that kind of not go wrong with the movie, but kind of make it, that's the only thing that I really had, bumped into, was, that reveal should have been put a little bit further back, but it's not like there's a ton of time in between, in real time, again, quote unquote, there's not a ton there, and I feel like the whole, him berating Ed Norton at the end is hilarious. It's just so stupid. Why is this so stupid? I appreciate this movie. I'm gonna watch it again when it comes to Netflix. It's great. It's so well done. It's got these great little comedic moments throughout the entire thing that make it worth watching. And it's just one of those things where it's as you're going through and characters aren't being developed, you're like, oh, they might be the killer. But at the same time, when you get to the end and it reveals everything that is to be revealed, you're like, okay, it makes sense that they weren't the killer, because that's not what this movie is trying to be. And I think that works to this movie's advantage in great deal. But we will wrap up there for today. And until our next episode, which I don't know when that'll be, probably Monday or Tuesday, have a great rest of your week.